Hi, siblings. Greetings, Grand Rising. Guess it's time to have that talk we've all been dreading, right? Why the trans community has been facing so much opposition, and why does it feel like a decade's worth of work is being undone? And the truth is that we were never really a strong collective. We were already a marginalized community who is not mighty in numbers. And so the diversity amongst us was always weak. We were always working in siloed groups and pockets. And it's because a lot of us have internalized so many things that have caused us not to work together well as a collective. Internalized racism, internalized misogyny, internalized homophobia, internalized transphobia. All of these isms and phobias have definitely made it hard for us to work together as a collective. Us not even understanding non-binary people, people who choose not to subscribe to gender or perform in ways that align with the traditional placeholders in the binary, like manhood and womanhood, like our own community members not even having capacity for that type of inclusivity. And so the movement was definitely flawed from the get go. And I would say that I realized this around 2013. Now, I'm not trying to brag, but I was probably the first trans person who looks like me from the South to be creating content that had all strong black trans leads, like we were doing organic plays and skits, and this was content that I was creating before 2012. Like literally no black trans woman was doing anything like that. They were really centering themselves or working with black gay men, but not having strong trans leads playing all of the roles. Like I was probably the first to do something like that. And so I've always believed in working as a collective. I've always saw this movement as a marathon and not a race. I've always felt in my heart that we needed to build collectively and we needed to show up for each other. That's why when people say you're a leader and the people that are following you, I'm like, no, I'm building as a collective. Yes, my voice is often centered, and I don't, the ancestors use me. Thank you. I'm glad that I could be a vessel, but I understand that I'm having a human experience and I'm not going to always get it right. Are people intimidated by my light? Are people intimidated by my gifts? Absolutely. I would be lying if I say I'd never noticed that. I've never seen that. And that's something that they need to work out with the God or the creator of their understanding, or work out with a therapist on the couch. That doesn't really have a lot to do with me, because I am willing to make space for people. I'm willing to humble myself, but we are going to play the whole tape, and you are not going to dominate the conversation because you have a degree or massa has approved you up here on this plantation. I'm going to be heard. I'm going to be heard. Now interpret that how you will, because I know that I often speak for people that y'all try to throw away. Y'all try to throw away the people who self-medicate. Y'all try to throw away the people who don't have your same ambition, who are not striving for this idea of black excellence or trying to be a part of the talented 10. The ones who are not around here going to have every surgery known to man so that they can feminize their face, which often ends up looking like white face. No tea, no shade. I have sisters who've gotten facial femme. I have close family members who've gotten facial femme, and I love that for them. But some of the girls go overboard. We just gonna call a thing a thing. And it's because of all of the things that they have internalized about being black. And so, because I'm not someone trying to be a doll, I'm not trying to be someone who is extremely indoctrinated by this system's form of education, y'all struggle with my input. But not having space to welcome all of the voices to the table has led us to this place in time. I saw that it was a sinking ship and I got off. And a lot of y'all will say, well, what good did it do you to get off the ship? We still all going in the same place anyway. But at least I'm standing on something that I'm willing to die for. At least I began to work on a movement. I began to work on creating a space that I am 100% 10 toes down committed to. Laylim Layler, Becoming Purple, Wholeness, wrote a book about it, published a book about it, my life's work. So I might still be on a sinking ship, but it wasn't a ship that was given to me by my oppressor. It wasn't language that was given to me by people who never meant me any good anyway. I broke a cycle. My ancestors were given a book. They were given a book, and that book was not to liberate them. That book was not to free them. That book has been a problem. It's good and bad. It's a very dynamic book, but for the most part, it has kept us from coming together collectively. And so, when language was given to us, when a book was given to us as queer people, as trans people, as non-binary people, I first went along with the book, but then I snapped out of it. And I said, oh, this is that happening again. They're giving us something that's not meant to liberate us. They're giving us our undoing. And I was right. Now you children is making up words like transmaxing and incels. Does it ever end? Meanwhile, over here in Purple Nation, I am experiencing a level of healing and peace in the middle of the storm. 'Cause I didn't run up to the top of the hill so I could brag about being up at the top of the hill. I stayed down there. And so, baby, like the ancestors say, you can't miss what you never had. You can't miss what you never had, Bookie Boo. I stayed in the struggle. If you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. Because guess what's ahead? Struggle. So I stayed ready. So I ain't have to get ready. But this movement has always been siloed. And let me tell you what triggers me more than anything is sitting up seeing white people, white trans people. And no tea, no shade to my white trans siblings. I love y'all. But when y'all rights and when y'all stuff start getting attacked, y'all all over the internet with this henny penny narrative. But when we were marching and having the rallies, and for years, y'all was somewhere doing y'all own thing, living y'all best life. And now that the government done said that your rights are in danger again, now y'all everywhere on social media talking about the sky's falling. But when we was having the marches and the rallies, we barely saw y'all. When we was trying to show how strong we were as a collective, when we was trying to show how we could work together as a collective, and I don't just totally blame white people, because black people who are holding on to their pain can make an environment quite hostile. And I'm not saying there are not some of our white siblings who come in with this naivety about how they were raised, like this naivety about their perceived privilege and how they interpret life and how that affects people around them. So I'm not going to say that some of them don't trigger this part of us that becomes territorial when it's time to share space. But I am going to say this: if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so that inability to be able to put the grievances of our ancestors to the side for a bigger purpose. And not to forget, not even to forgive, but to be strategic enough to say that we need each other. We need to be able to hear each other. We need to be able to respect each other. And we need to be able to collaborate in a way that is not flaky, unstable, or shaky. We need to be able to be honest and transparent when something is bothering us, and we need to have a thick enough skin to be able to hear each other and to be able to respect what's being said and not to gaslight each other. And that's been the problem, and that is why my work since 2015 has centered collective healing. I had a project at one time called HAS, Healing and Solidarity. Now it's Congregation of SAS, standing against stigma sovereignly, SAS. The work has always been about collective healing. It's been about collective healing for a long time because that's what we need more than anything. We can't any kind of movement that we have will just be for a corner in a failing government, in a failing system, if we are not learning to reset ourselves, if we're not learning to get back to basics, if we're not learning how to navigate grief, then we're not learning to collectively heal. And so the movement is flawed from the start. And so I don't entertain a lot of the doomsday theories because in my mind, that's what it's always been. I've been thankful that there have been seasons where extra crumbs have fell off the table. But I've never been confused about what this is. That's why I've been making music, making art, and creating content, and even wrote a book again that was to be my cocoon, preparing myself for times such as these. That's all I wanted to share. Like, if you're looking at my content and you're waiting for me to be, oh, this is what the government's doing to trans people, oh, this is they're making us, if you're waiting for me to do all that, keep waiting, because I've never been confused about what this was. Never been confused about what this was. I never jumped on the bandwagon. It's been years. You've never, like, people who are saying, who are getting on here shocked. That's a privilege that you've had, to be shocked that America was capable of this. When I was 21 and 22 years old, I was inside the jailhouse under a mattress, shielding myself from feces and urine that other inmates were flinging into the cell because my cellmate didn't feel like giving them fellatio. I had deputies bringing me into closet spaces, strip searching me in the middle of the night so that they could look at my behind and look at my body parts. They were popping cells, opening cells so that other inmates could get to me and force me to give them fellatio. This is America. I was getting picked up on the street for trying to survive and doing months and months at a time in jail when there were people unaliving people and robbing people, and they were running free, but we were being picked up and herded to jail. Sometimes I even had to give some of the police officers some dome to keep from going to jail. Yeah, never been confused about what this is. I was being humiliated in front of my church by my pastor for being more like my mother than my father. We call it queer, we call it trans, but that's what it really is. It's called femphobia. And unlike Jesus, I didn't carry the cross. I embraced it. Felt like sometimes I literally punched the clock to be persecuted. I was often targeted in the workspace and dealt with not only racism, but femphobia. Again, seemed like I was always the most expendable person working my shift. I was suspended for school. I was expelled from school for defending myself against a bully. I've never been confused about what this was. And so I refuse to get on this line and act like I'm so shocked when America's, Lalem Layler Nation, Purple Ones, rise.